I'm Emma Jean, and I learned early in life that appearances can be deceiving. Growing up in a modest apartment above my parents' small grocery store, I watched them work tirelessly, saving every penny they could. What our neighbors didn't know was that my parents were silent investors in several successful tech startups, teaching me that true wealth doesn't need to announce itself. Remember, Emma, my father would say while counting the day's earnings, money talks, but wealth whispers. I took those words to heart, excelling in finance and economics while working part-time at our store. By 25, I had my MBA and had quietly built my own investment portfolio worth millions. But I kept my success private, preferring to be underestimated rather than invade. That's how I met Michael. It was a rainy Tuesday at the local coffee shop where I often worked on my laptop, managing my investments while appearing to be just another young professional. Michael rushed in, drenched and frantically checking his watch. "The register's card reader is down," the barista announced apologetically. Michael patted his pockets, realizing he'd left his wallet at home. I noticed his expensive but worn briefcase, a gift from someone special, perhaps, and his kind eyes. "I've got it," I said, stepping up to pay. "Oh no, I couldn't," he started to protest. "Consider it karma," I smiled. "Maybe you can return the favor someday." That favor came in the form of dinner the following week. Michael was charming, genuine, and refreshingly down to earth. He worked as a middle manager at Preston Financial, one of the city's largest investment firms. "It's not the most exciting job," he admitted over pasta, "but it's stable." I liked that he wasn't trying to impress me with false bravado. "Stability is underrated," I replied, thinking of my own carefully managed portfolio. What I didn't mention was that I already owned a significant number of shares in Preston Financial. I've been watching the company for months, noting its potential and its problems. The current management was old school, resistant to necessary technological updates that could streamline their operations. Our relationship blossomed naturally. Michael was kind, honest, and treated everyone with respect, from CEO to janitor. After a year of dating, he proposed with his grandmother's ring. "It's not much," he said nervously, "but it's been in the family for generations." "It's perfect," I assured him, meaning it. The ring's value wasn't in its modest diamond, but in its history of love. Then I met his family, and everything changed. Michael's sister, Catherine, worked as a senior analyst at Preston Financial. She'd fast-tracked her way up through office politics and family connections. From our first meeting, she made it clear she found me lacking. "So, what do you do?" she asked during our first family dinner, wine glass dangling from manicured fingers. "I'm a secretary at Rivera Corp," I said, using my cover job. I did actually work there part-time, mainly to maintain my understanding of day-to-day operations in the finance world. "Oh," Catherine exchanged looks with their mother, Eleanor. "How quaint." Michael always did have a soft spot for charity cases. Michael shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. That silence would become a pattern. After we married, Catherine's disdain grew more obvious. She worked at the same Preston Financial branch as Michael, and her comments became more frequent and cutting. "You know," she told Michael loudly at the office Christmas party, "Sandra from accounting is single now. She's a junior partner, Michael. Much more suitable." I maintained my composure, but Michael's lack of defense stung. He wanted to avoid conflict, he said later. "Keep the peace." What they didn't know was that I'd been steadily increasing my stake in Preston Financial. The company needed modernization, and I was positioning myself to make it happen. My cover as a part-time secretary at Rivera Corp allowed me to observe without suspicion. Then came the merger announcement. Preston Financial was joining forces with Rivera Corp, where I supposedly worked as a secretary. The move would double the company's market share, if it succeeded. Catherine was ecstatic, seeing an opportunity for advancement. Finally, a chance to show the board what real talent looks like, she bragged at family dinner. Unlike some people who can barely manage a filing cabinet. Eleanor, my mother-in-law, nodded approvingly. "It's important to have ambition, dear. Not everyone is content with mediocrity." Her eyes flickered to me. Michael studied his plate. What they didn't know was that I'd orchestrated the merger through shell companies and careful negotiations. I owned 40% of Rivera Corp, soon to be 40% of the merged Preston Rivera Financial Group. The annual company gala would announce the merger's completion. Catherine insisted on having it at her country club, making sure I knew the usual membership fee. But don't worry, she smiled sweetly, staff can use the service entrance. The night of the gala arrived. I wore a simple black dress, expensive but understated. Catherine sashayed around in designer silk, introducing Michael to more appropriate women. "Oh, Emma," she called out loudly as I stood alone near the appetizers. The catering staff needed help in the kitchen. I told them you feel right at home there. Laughter rippled through her circle of sycophants. Michael, across the room, pretended to be engrossed in conversation. That's when Mr. Harrison, the CEO of Rivera Corp., walked in. He spotted me immediately. "Mrs. John," he called out warmly. "The woman of the hour." Catherine frowned. "Excuse me?" Mr. Harrison continued, "Everyone, I'd like to introduce our new Chief Financial Officer and major shareholder, Emma Zhang. Without her vision for this merger, none of us would be here tonight." The room fell silent. Catherine's champagne glass slipped from her fingers, shattering on the marble floor. "That's impossible," she stammered. "She's a secretary." "Oh, I did work at Rivera Corp.," I said calmly. "Best way to understand a company is from the ground up. But I've also been one of the largest shareholders in both Preston Financial and Rivera Corp. for the past 3 years." Eleanor's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. But the country club membership. "I've been a member for 5 years," I replied. "I'm on the board, actually. Interesting that we never ran into each other, Catherine." Michael pushed through the crowd, his face a mix of shock and something else. Shame, perhaps. "Emma," he started, "why didn't you tell me?" I met his gaze steadily. Would it have changed anything? Would you have finally stood up to them? Before he could answer, Catherine found her voice. "This is ridiculous. I've worked here for 8 years. I've earned my position." About that, Mr. Harrison interjected. "Mrs. Zhang has brought some concerning documents to our attention. Something about unauthorized trades under client accounts." Catherine's face went from red to white in an instant. "We'll need to discuss this in detail on Monday," he continued. "For now, I suggest you enjoy what might be your last company event." The rest of the evening passed in a blur of shocked faces and hasty congratulations. Eleanor and Catherine left early, claiming headaches. Michael kept trying to catch my eye, but I was busy with actual business discussions. Back at home, the silence was deafening. All this time, Michael finally said, "You let them treat you like that." "Why?" "Because I needed to see who people really were," I replied. "Money changes how people treat you. I wanted to know if I could count on you to stand by me regardless of my bank account." "And did I pass that test?" he asked quietly. I looked at him for a long moment. "What do you think?" The next morning, I headed to my new office early. The weekend security guard did a double take at my upgraded access badge. I was no longer entering through the side entrance as a visiting secretary. My phone had been buzzing nonstop since last night. Dozens of missed calls from Eleanor and Catherine, plus several texts from Michael. "Please come home. We need to talk. I know I messed up. Give me a chance to explain. Emma, I love you. Don't throw away our marriage over this." But I had work to do. The audit team had already gathered in the conference room, armed with the evidence I'd been collecting for months. "Mrs. John," Mr. Harrison greeted me. "Shall we begin?" The evidence against Catherine was damning. She'd been running a sophisticated scheme, making unauthorized trades using client funds, skimming profits, and covering her tracks through manipulated records. The amounts were staggering, over $5 million diverted over 3 years. The clients never noticed because she was careful to target dormant accounts, the head auditor explained. Mostly elderly investors who didn't check their statements regularly. My stomach turned. Elderly investors. A quick check confirmed my suspicion. One of the affected accounts belonged to Michael's grandmother, the same one whose ring I wore. Catherine had stolen nearly $200,000 from her own grandmother's retirement fund. As we reviewed the documents, my assistant interrupted. "Mrs. John, your mother-in-law is in the lobby. She's causing quite a scene." I sighed, "Send her up." Eleanor burst into the conference room, designer handbag swinging wildly. "How dare you? You manipulative. Scheming." "Mrs. Kennedy," Mr. Harrison cut in sharply. "This is a private meeting." "Private? Nothing's private anymore, thanks to this gold digger. Do you know what she's done to our family?" I met her gaze calmly. "Do you know what your daughter has done to your mother-in-law's retirement fund?" That stopped her cold. What? I slid the account statement across the table. Eleanor's face paled as she read the numbers. This must be a mistake, she whispered. No mistake, I replied. Catherine stole from her own grandmother and dozens of other retirees. Eleanor sank into a chair, her righteous anger deflating. But she said she was doing so well at work. She was, at fraud. I stood up. The police will be here within the hour. I suggest you get Catherine a good lawyer. As if on cue, Catherine burst into the room, Michael trailing behind her. You can't do this, she shrieked. I've work to do hard. Save it for the police, Mr. Harrison interrupted. They're very interested in your creative accounting. Michael stepped forward. Emma, please. There must be another way. She's my sister. I looked at my husband, really looked at him. And I'm your wife. Or did you forget that every time she humiliated me? I didn't know about any of this. He gestured helplessly at the documents. You didn't want to know, I corrected. Just like you didn't want to see how they treated me. It was easier to stay quiet, wasn't it? Catherine's face had taken on a calculating look. I have dirt on other people too. If I go down. Save your threats. I cut her off. Every trade, every transfer, every doctored document has been traced. Your dirt won't save you from prison. Eleanor began to cry. Think of our family name. Like you thought of your mother's retirement? I asked quietly. She trusted you with her account, Catherine. They all did. The police arrived minutes later. As they led Catherine away in handcuffs, she turned to Michael one last time. Are you really going to let her destroy our family? Michael stood frozen, torn between family loyalty and moral obligation. In that moment, I made my decision. Send the divorce papers to my lawyer, I told him. I'll have my things out by tonight. Emma, wait. He caught my arm. I know I failed you. But please, give me a chance to make it right. I gently removed his hand. You had 3 years of chances. Every time they belittled me, every time they treated me like dirt. Those were chances to stand up for your wife. You chose your side long ago. The aftermath was swift and merciless. Catherine pleaded guilty to multiple counts of fraud and theft. She was sentenced to 8 years in prison and ordered to repay millions in restitution. Eleanor and Michael's father had to sell their country club membership and downsize their home to help cover Catherine's legal fees. I threw myself into transforming Preston Rivera Financial. We implemented stricter oversight measures, modernized our technology, and established a restitution fund for Catherine's victims. Michael's grandmother was the first to receive full compensation. Months passed. I granted Michael an amicable divorce, even letting him keep the apartment. Some called me too generous, but I remembered the kind man who'd forgotten his wallet that rainy day. He wasn't a bad person, just a weak one. One evening, as I worked late in my office, my assistant announced an unexpected visitor, Michael's grandmother. She walked in slowly, leaning on her cane, my former engagement ring glinting on her thin finger. Michael had returned it to her after our divorce. I owe you a visit, she said, settling into a chair, to thank you for protecting my retirement and to apologize. You have nothing to apologize for, I assured her. Oh, but I do. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small box. Inside was the engagement ring. I want you to keep this. I couldn't possibly. You protected not just my savings, but my dignity. That's worth more than any ring. She smiled sadly. Besides, you were always more of a granddaughter to me than Catherine. After she left, I stood at my office window, watching the city lights flicker on. The ring sat on my desk, a reminder that true worth isn't in what we own, but in what we stand for. Eleanor still tries to contact me occasionally, usually when she needs money. Catherine writes from prison, alternating between threats and pleas for help with her appeal. I forward all communication to my lawyers. Michael sent me one final email. I finally understand what real strength looks like. It's not in keeping the peace, but in standing up for what's right. I'm sorry I learned that lesson too late. Take care of yourself, Emma. I did keep the ring, not as a reminder of what I'd lost, but of what I'd gained: self-respect, clarity, and the knowledge that sometimes the greatest wealth lies in being true to yourself. Last week, I approved a new financial literacy program for seniors, free workshops to help them protect their investments. We named it after Michael's grandmother. It felt right, turning past pain into future protection. The morning sun streams through my office window as I review the latest merger proposals. My father's words echo in my mind. Money talks, but wealth whispers. He was right, but he forgot one thing. Integrity roars. And that's a sound that even the highest walls of privilege can't silence.